Oh yeah, welcome back to Captain Coleslaw Outdoors with yours truly. And we are sitting here in mid-October, and the rut is about to kick off for these whitetail deer, which we tried to hunt earlier in the year to no avail. And we are now trying to set up on some rut and bucks in order to get the job done this archery season. So you guys saw earlier in the year, we tried to hunt a buck on a property that we've been very familiar with over the last couple years, and we have basically failed miserably. Well, what we're going to try to do is figure out another spot where we can find some bucks. So what we're actually looking for is buck sign. So as you can see, we're out here against this cornfield property, and we're actually in this river bottom where there's a creek behind us here. So the deer are not going to be running on that creek, but they are going to be coming out to this field for corn, and this barrier woods that runs between the creek and the corn is a great highway to traffic deer into an area that you want them to be in, which is why that is right there in the soil. So let's take a look at this thing. All right, officer, that right there is a scrape, and this is what deer do in the rut when they are looking to mark their territory from other deer. They actually will dig this area of soil out with their paws or with their hooves, and then they pee in that in order to mark their scent. And then right above there is a lick branch, and that lick branch is what those deer use their scent gland on the inner part of their lip to mark. So this deer marks its scent on the ground as well as up in the air. Now that corn that's out there, that's a great food source that's attracting does to this area. But as well as there are does, these bucks are here too, but they're marking their territory now before the actual heat of the breeding season begins, because once the breeding season hits, this scrape is going to be a scent marker that those deer use to establish territories where they're going to be looking for those does. And when push comes to shove, the most dominant deer with the most dominant scrape is going to be the deer who is the most popular and is most likely to breed. So we're going to hang a stand back in the tree right back here behind where we have this scrape. We're going to set a camera over this scrape, and we're going to send some doe in estrus, also known as doe in heat scent, which is going to waft down through this thicket where the deer are moving up and down along this cornfield. So this was an amazing find. Hopefully, if we're lucky, we can set up this area right, come in here in a week or so when the rut is really kicking in, and might even see some deer activity. It's starting to rain a little bit, it's starting to get a little dark, so we're going to hang that stand, get the heck out of here, and hope that later this fall, this is the spot where we drop a buck. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, we're back. It's exactly 16 days since we hung that rut stand over that scrape on that creek bottom, and the results that we have gotten off that trail camera have been monstrously effective. So we actually found out that there is an alpha buck living in this area, a buck that we're nicknaming High Life due to his high, majestic rack, who's been checking that scrape that we found every 2 to 3 days during the October lull. So he's moving mainly at night because there's not a whole lot of pressure for that deer to move, but he's checking this scrape regularly. There's also a ton of does coming down and using this cornfield, as you can imagine, and he is all over those deer, trying to push them around and see if there's any that he can select out to breed early. The fact of the matter is, in the last week, the buck activity on this creek bottom has advanced dramatically, And High Life has been showing up at the scrape more and more often to make sure that he's keeping tabs on the bucks that are there. In just the last couple days, some real doozy dominant buck have been showing up over this scrape. And High Life has had to do more defending of his territory in order to keep his does his. Well, this is exactly the moment we've been waiting for during the rut, because when these big alpha bucks that have a home range get challenged, they show up these scrapes more and more often in order to try to make sure that there are no imposers on their territory when he's not looking. In an area like this where there's food and an absolute ton of females worth breeding, High Life's got a lot of work to do. He's been showing primarily up at night, but in the last couple days, High Life has actually shown up in daylight, in shooting hours. And he showed up in the mornings, but we're also hoping that he shows up this evening with a little bit more aggression. I am excited. I am hyped. But we're gonna trek in here. We're gonna walk in on that crick that you saw us on when we first found this scrape to conceal our ground scent, try to come up right up behind the stand without having to walk through that scrape and leave our human scent. And hopefully, just hopefully, we see High Life and his friends tonight, and maybe even get a shot at a big legal rutting buck. Oh yeah, we're back. It is November 4th. And I've lost count on how many actual sits we've had this archery season, but I know it's over a dozen. Last 3 nights I've actually hunted here, this being the 4th in a row. And I have seen an insurmountable number of deer in here. The problem is they're all showing up just a little bit too late. Last night I almost got it done on a couple bucks, but I wasn't sure the size of the buck at the scrape below me. It didn't look great, so we didn't make any assumptions, and we just let them be. These bucks are starting to really turn up. Their movement and their aggression when looking for does in different bedding areas at this food source, which is this corn we've been working with out here. We're at the point now where basically every minute that goes by is another minute closer to killing the buck. It can just happen at any time. You just gotta be out there hoping that it happens. We're starting to get exhausted. I got bags under my eyes, I know. I'm starting to feel a little bit more like my age, which sucks. We're gonna shoot the first legal buck that we get a chance to. I know there's shooters in here that are absolute pigs, but time is money, and we've waited this long. We owe it to ourselves to find some sort of success. I'm not gonna say that we're gonna settle on a buck. That's real scrappy, kind of like we've done earlier in the year. But it would be really nice if a legal buck just came to this scrape. I wish it was less sunny. I wish it was more overcast, which would allow us to see deer sooner. But the longer the sun's out, the longer we can sit out here and potentially get it done. So hopefully the deer are moving early, sun or cloud, and the first legal buck that we can get in, we're gonna take a stab at them. So we're gonna get hunting and see what happens. No. That's horrible. That's horrible. That's a horrible shot. Oh my God. I know exactly what buck that was. That was the high 8. Hurt himself. I didn't see any blood. That sounds solid. We might track him here in a little bit, but I don't think we're gonna find that deer. I think he's gone. He was hurting, but not dead. Son of a... He went out to that field edge and just took off, so he must be doing okay. Wow, that was a bad shot. Terrible. Holy shit. Oh yeah, we're back. 5 out of 5 days this week we've been hunting out of this stand. Last night was probably one of the most catastrophic things you could have happen to you as an archery hunter. Literally had a buck right underneath us. No clue what was going on. Grounded him right in, and we were not able to finish the job on this buck. It was actually a buck that I have on camera. I called him 8 of day because he was an 8 point that was showing up during daylight hours, which was very unlike the other deer that we have on camera. The thing about that buck, though, is he had broken off some points. He must obviously be fighting and rutting, and he wasn't the most impressive deer, or even in the top 3 or 4 that we would shoot, but he was there, and he was the opportunity, and we failed on it. The worst thing that we could have happen to us as archery hunters is to make a shot on deer and not recover it. Now, looking at that footage about a bajillion times, I know that that deer is probably going to be okay, and that's a little bit more soothing in my heart. But it's still pretty gut-wrenching to know that our deer is probably out there hurting and is going to have to struggle to survive a little bit more than the average bear. I don't know why we're back in this stand. It hurts to watch a deer like that get wounded and walk away hurt like that. Part of me wants nothing to do with what we're doing right now. But fortune favors the bold, and we've been resilient and persistent as hell. And that's what got us an opportunity in the first place. That was our first true legal buck in range that we even had a chance of shooting during decent hours of light, with any confidence whatsoever. We're hoping that lightning strikes twice and we can have a buck do something very similar to what that buck did yesterday. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen. Another part of me just wants to go out on the tree line where that deer was last seen and see if I can find him. Maybe bed it up in there and that was it. But I just strongly doubt that was the case. We know there's more deer in here. The wind is perfect. It doesn't look like the scrape has been looked at or touched all that often in the last couple days, but Hopefully some bigs come in here with their does and we can make it sound with some grunting and rattling like a threat worth taking care of in the deer world, but it still sucks that we're in this position. We gotta do it all over again. Maybe a little blessing will help us with our peace of mind and land a second opportunity we can capitalize on. But let it be known that what happened yesterday sucks. It is deflating, slightly humiliating, but also worth showing, because in reality, as archery hunters, these sorts of things happen all the time and nobody talks about them. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, but we figured we'd continue to highlight that experience for what it's worth, which is an authentic view on what happens in the worst case of archery hunt. We're just gonna hunt, we're gonna wait it out. Hopefully something can happen. It's a beautiful set, beautiful day. It's gonna be a beautiful evening once again. Hopefully one of these bigs just messes up early. That's what we need in order to feel better.